Hey everyone, this is Anirban here. Welcome you again to the Dark Chocolate Podcast. Today we have Team Philpott. He has been doing email marketing for the last 8 years, but recently he started doing email marketing as a freelancer, and it's been 3 months. Before joining email marketing, he used to be a consultant for UK government. And thank you, team, for coming today. Welcome here.
Thanks, Noah. It's great to be here, and I'm kind of excited by this project. It sounds like quite a good. It sounds like this podcast in general is going to be quite useful for new marketers and new email marketers. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. So my first question to you is, can you briefly introduce yourself and share what led you into email marketing?
Yes. My name is Tim Philpott. I'm known on LinkedIn as the Newsletter Architect. As you said, I've got a kind of history with email marketing. I've only been doing it freelance for about 3 months, but I had my own e-commerce store before that since probably about 2019. So I've been doing it myself, selling my own stuff uh, to a greater or lesser degree of success. And then obviously before that, I was doing the consulting, as you said. What led me to email marketing was it's because I worked in consulting. I was listening to a lot of podcasts and a lot of political podcasts, and I used to listen to this guy called Tom Woods, and I still kind of do, but I got bored of it eventually. But he's a big advocate for freedom, essentially, like just being able to get free from the 9 to 5. And then he had a guest on whose name was Ben Settle. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but I was just like, this is a job, like Ben Settle's a copywriter, really, but he's the big email guy, right? This is like a job where you get to write stuff like for people and sell things. So from then on, I was just like obsessed with this. So I became like a big subscriber to Ben Settle's stuff. Read all his things. I think I've got almost all of the things that he sells. But anyway, so that led me to set up my own e-commerce store and sort of experiment with a few things and try it out for myself. And obviously, I started bringing it into my work as well in corporate life, up to the point where maybe about a year ago, I decided, actually, maybe I should just do this like as my full-time thing. And here I am. Still, the thing is though, it's funny because like even though it's been 8 years of studying and doing and whatever, I still occasionally I get to a client thing and I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, do I?
Yeah, that's true. Like there are a lot of people who actually complain that when they're doing any work or taking any project under any company, they are not actually doing it all on their own. I mean, from the initial touch point to the offboarding, they're just following some certain SOPs and all, but they
Yeah,
haven't done it all on themselves. So they don't know how exactly you onboard a client, how you offboard a client, how you serve, what are
yeah,
the things you face, or what are the objections you have to handle from the client. So it's actually very difficult as a freelancer. I understand that it's quite difficult to manage this all because you are wearing multiple hats. You have to just took off a hat and wear just another one, and
yeah.
it's quite difficult. Yeah, I mean, I believe that for the last 3 months you are experiencing the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's essentially basically if you're becoming a, I mean, there shouldn't be if you feel like I suppose it depends, right? So my consulting background means that I know how to deal with clients, if that makes sense, and that does take some practice. Like you need to be able to. It shouldn't dissuade people from becoming a freelancer, but it is a tight learning curve because you have to manage the client. Like managing the client is like a whole different skill to actually doing the writing. Yeah, and then as I'm sure we'll probably cover as well, like marketing yourself to the client is also is like a third thing, and then obviously managing all of that is like the fourth thing. Like it's all sort of juggling it all constantly. I mean, I was just thinking earlier about how I need, like, basically I've been really going hard on the prospecting for like the last couple of weeks, but I've not really sat down and properly done any writing. I mean, I've done what I've done for my client, but I haven't done it for myself to just explore different ways of writing. But this kind of stuff is needed. But time management is important to a freelancer. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So my next question for you is, what's one mistake you made early on in your email marketing career, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. This is a good one because I'm actually starting to document this on I'm putting together like a thing on timslaunchpad.com, which is like basically for new marketers who are, if I'm 3 months, like this is for people who have maybe been like 1 month or like 0 months. But basically, the biggest mistake that I made when I started was thinking that I could just kind of go on social media and just post content. and that it will just happen. But there's actually so many. I actually follow a 5-step process for this now, but it's sort of a it's been a long, it's been a long, not a long journey, but an intense journey. I suppose it's 3 months, so it's not that long. But basically, my biggest mistake was thinking that just posting on socials would get clients, but actually, it's more about being. So you need to, yeah, okay, posting on socials is fine, but you need to also engage with clients in direct messaging. You also need to sort of refine what it is you're actually even offering, because just saying, "Oh, I do email marketing," is just kind of very vague. Like, what do you actually do? What are you actually guaranteeing here? Like, what are you actually going to achieve? How does it work? That kind of stuff. This all requires a bit of thinking, and also creating a bit of community as well. Like, going out there and actually comment. This is sort of a classic piece of advice, but going out there and commenting on larger accounts can be really good for your visibility, and it's making those comments count as well. Like, not just kind of being just saying great posts or something like this, but actually contributing something of value to that conversation. And yeah. So I suppose so that would be the biggest mistake. But essentially, it's all about you got to position yourself to get the best advice, basically, and learn. Like, you can't. One of the biggest mistakes I made probably was going in and thinking I knew it all already.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
until and unless you talk to your prospects in the DM, you won't be able to understand their exact problems, or what are the things they are suffering with, like their
yes,
objections or their problems or their current struggles. Like, posting would give you reach, posting would help you build a community, but until and unless you bring them to your DMs or you reach out to them, understand their
yeah.
problem, you won't be able to close clients.
Exactly, and actually, the more conversation, the thing is, getting it's the scariest thing at the start is actually directly talking to someone who you might be able to sell to, right? But that's actually the number one thing you need to do as much as you can, because then you just learn as much as you understand. They're not buying because of this, or they don't like they don't my hook on this post was wrong because I'm calling out like a totally different type of niche to what they're in, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you only learn this from actually engaging with the clients themselves. Yeah, it's really scary and really hard at first, but it is what needs to be done. And it gets easy. Well, does it get easier? I don't know, but it's all for the you start to, I suppose, appreciate more the learning than the fear in the end.
Exactly. That's the thing. So my next question to you is, what trends are you most excited about in email marketing right now?
I'm not really so I'm not really sure. I wasn't really sure how to answer this, but basically, I really like the fact that email has remained as this kind of steadfast kind of media, if that makes sense. So despite Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Snapchat, and TikTok, and all this other stuff, like the big question is like, how do you still engage with people? And email is still like the one. Like, even after all this time, how do you log into social media? You use email. Like, what is the one place that people will definitely check 6 times an hour, apparently, according to some statistics? It's going to be their email. It's not going to be their social media. Where is the place that people are most likely to buy from if it's not like actually in a shop? It's in their inbox. And I know that's not really a trend. It's kind of like an anti-trend, actually. But basically, that's what I'm excited. That's what I'm excited about. It's like, regardless of the trends, this is still a thing, and it will remain a thing. I don't know what would upset it. I mean, I don't know if you know. Like, I mean, it's not like we're all going to start using. I suppose like the move to mobile phones and stuff like that. Using mobile phone numbers and things like that might, but that's been a thing for a while, and it still hasn't happened. So yeah,
So basically, what I'm seeing right now in 2025, there are a lot of people who are actually transitioning from blog, social media marketing to email marketing, just because they know that AI is actually capturing a lot of the social media content creation and all,
yeah.
and that's why people are just pushing their audience to their email list, just because they know that this is something that is very safe. No matter what happens, like, it will
Yeah.
always be safe.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
You're right. On the AI point, I think it's fascinating, actually, because I bump into two different types of people, right? One type of person is like that classic kind of like annoying person. Well, I don't want to say, I'm not totally anti AI, but there are certain types of people out there who will be like, oh, if you're not, you got to get with the program because otherwise you're going to get left behind. And I sort of understand that, but all of the trends that I've seen, just talking about trends, all the trends that I've seen, especially on social media and especially when it comes in email as well, but especially on social media, is that it's authenticity and honesty and personal stories which actually make the difference. So, yes, okay, use AI to help you write some stuff, but like, it's not gonna, like, using AI is not a magic solution. You still have to do your own, like, yeah, your own stories. Yeah.
AI is actually giving you a surface level solution. That means, like, if you are a totally newbie or a beginner,
Yeah.
then you can go to AI and ask for something, and AI will give you some very very basic content or email or whatever you are writing. And it is actually very very good thing for us,
Yeah.
those people who are actually doing it for quite some time, or those people who are actually know the stuff, because everyone is now a coach or genius or expert.
Yeah.
Very difficult to differentiate between the actual people and the people who are faking. So AI is actually helping us in that, in this way. Like, the
Yeah.
AI is giving the basic surface level content, and whenever you are just producing the content or writing the content on social media or sending the email, we can easily track that it's written with AI. And people whoever is buying from the email or whoever is reading the email, they can trace that, okay, this people is sending me an email which is written by with his own experience, or
Yes.
maybe he did it himself, and another one is like literally written with AI. So I'm not gonna buy from that particular
Yeah.
email.
Well, like, it's like people when they detect sort of AI in something.
Hmm.
This isn't everybody, obviously, but like you kind of know, like you just kind of have this instinctive. I mean, maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't know what you think about that, but like I feel like you can kind of tell. It's almost like I'm extra suspicious now, like when I read something about whether it was written by AI because so many people are using it.
True, true. So as we are talking about this email list building, so what's the biggest challenge you face when building an email list, and how do you tackle it?
The biggest, so with when working with my current clients, the biggest thing that I've struggled with is convincing them that we want an email list of people who are going to buy stuff
True.
rather than just like hang around for freebies and, like, tips and stuff. Like, it's really something that people can't get their heads around. I know I'm not saying this is, it's not actually, I mean, you're smiling, and so you obviously know what I'm talking about, but like it's a quite hard thing to explain. Do you know what I mean? To people who who don't really haven't experienced it. Yeah, because okay, so you've got, let's say you've got 10, because I've got a client right now, right? So I'm not gonna, like, reveal anything else, but like she's got an email list of 19,000 people, which is like massive for like someone who doesn't who's like um doing what she's doing. But like the response rate is just appalling. Like, it's just like people are not. I mean, you could say, oh, maybe Tim's not Tim's not writing good enough emails, but like I find it fascinating how, like, like nearly 75% of these people are completely unresponsive to everything. Like, they're just there for, like, I don't know why they're there. You know what I mean? Like, why are they just on this email list? Like, I feel like, yeah, one of my big things about this is that if you create an email list with lots of freebie stuff on it, then people will literally just be opening and using the email to get free tips and free advice. And if you offer something that's paid, they either get upset or they sort of will just ignore it because they think they can get by on trying the free stuff first. And it gets you lots of compliments, and it gets you lots of pats on the back and that kind of thing. But like, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. And I think I do struggle with, especially, like, explaining that to people. Yeah, it's very hard to explain. But you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah,
And also there is one thing I have noticed, that people try to buy email lists.
yeah,
That's the biggest mistake anyone can ever make.
yeah. And actually, like, I was thinking about this the other day. So there's, like, Justin Welsh, and there's a bunch of other people who did this as well. But like back in the day, like, 20, I don't know when he started, maybe 2018 or something, or 2015 maybe. Like, before that, it was like a new thing to have an email newsletter. And he has like 100. Apparently, he has 175,000 people on this email newsletter. And then there's this other guy who was like the Airbnb guy who had like a newsletter that generated £500,000 a year, $500,000 a year. So, but it's like that sounds like really cool. All I have to do is write a newsletter every week and I get money. But that like, it doesn't really work like that. Like, that's not how people respond to email anymore. That's just not going to work. You can't just kind of build up a list of like 50,000 people selling free tips and then put like a paywall of $5 on it and expect everybody to stay on that list. It's just not going to happen. And then when you get like corporate sponsors and stuff like that, that starts to change your message. Like, they might expect you to promote certain things or not talk about certain things. But yeah, from my perspective, an email list is all about that kind of trust, but also having an understanding with the customer that they're gonna take the next step. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just kind of sit there.
So let's go to the next question. What are your top three tips for increasing email open rates?
Sorry. The obvious one, obviously, the obvious one is obviously get better subject lines. So this is pretty obvious. It's a bit like a straightforward tip, but basically subject lines which are curiosity driven, maybe slightly shocking. I've noticed that putting numbers in the subject line is a classic. If you put a decimal point in there, that's like an even bigger curiosity, because if you've got like 7.5 tips to, I don't know, increase email open rates, everyone's kind of like, what is half, what is 0.5 of it, what is that? So that's quite funny. So subject lines are the obvious one, but I suppose the key one is actually writing emails that people are actually really excited to read. I know that sounds a bit boring, but that seems, like if you've always got a good story in there or a good kind of anecdote about something either exciting or relevant, that sort of that pushes that that pushes the open rate up. And then I would also say it's one of those things where if you focus on it too much, then you might just kind of get lost and get obsessed over something that doesn't actually hugely matter. I would say that the focus should be on whatever it is you're selling rather than on the open rates.
So you are saying that we should focus more on the subject line, make it catchy, not clickbait, but catchy.
Yeah,
And the second thing is also like write really, really good emails so
yeah.
that people want to open and read it. And the third point might be like you have to focus on one main point, one email, one main point. And if you have anything to sell, sell. Or if you are only sending the email to educate them or giving them value, then do it. But don't mix it all up.
Well, I would say it's more like, I mean, I actually agree with that, fun enough, but it's more like just don't get obsessed by the open rate, because quite often, like, I mean, I actually did a post on LinkedIn the other day, like 18 reasons why you shouldn't even look at the open rate, because like I know, for example, that like Gmail, for example, doesn't say that it's open until it's loaded all the pictures, or like some other inane stuff. I mean, I don't usually put pictures in my emails anyway for that exact reason, but like it's just lots of reasons why open rates are wrong. And I've got, for example, on my e-commerce store, I have an open rate of like on average like 25 to 30%. And it's just like nothing really, like compared to some people who can manage to get like 50 to 75% open rates regularly. But I still have pretty consistent sales. So that doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, on the one hand, you could say, okay, the open rate obviously doesn't mean anything in terms of sales. That's what I'd say.
So, as you have talked about this email copywriting, so can you tell us how to master the art of email copywriting?
Well, it depends what you mean by master, but I think I would define a master as somebody who has their own style and can kind of like perform at short notice, if that makes sense, right? So, and the only way really to get there, I think, is to read and write a lot. I mean, I've read a lot, and I find things that really capture my attention. Like I recently read this 90s sci-fi book, this 90s sci-fi novel, and the author has this really aggressive, kind of jarring way of using metaphors in the wrong way, and you can't help but notice them. And basically, I'm going to try and use that more in my emails, that kind of storytelling. Yeah, so essentially read and write a lot, get obsessed with the sort of process and learn each part of it. So if you're talking about, if you want to focus on storytelling, you just get really good at telling stories. What does a really good list of bullet points look like? Like, how do we invoke emotion in things that don't really have emotion in them? That kind of stuff. And then this morning I used what I call my blank page protocol, which is basically a way that I've used to inspire me to write on just a blank. If I've got a blank page in front of me, how do I actually turn that into something? And I feel like if you can sort of get those things down, so just being obsessed with like constantly improving it, and have a technique that really works for you for just banging out some emails in a short period of time, then I think you're probably getting towards being a master. Yeah. I mean, obviously you got to focus on those metrics as well, particularly sales. On the writing side of things, those are what I would recommend.
Practice does the job.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like practice, but like a variety of different practice. I brought in the sci-fi fiction stuff there because it's like totally different to what people might normally expect to get information from or tips from. Because quite a lot of the professional books and business books are quite dry and not very emotive, and the type of writing is the kind of writing that you'd find on LinkedIn or by email. Whereas sci-fi fiction allows you to sort of, it's like a totally different way of writing, and if you use it, it can have interesting results.
Yeah. All right. So my next question to you is, how do you approach segmentations and personalization in your email campaign?
I've got a bit of a nuanced relationship with this. Personalization, I think, is good sometimes because it obviously makes it stand out in the inbox and so on. But it does feel a bit creepy when you use it too often. I was on an email list for like something a while back, and it was like every single email had my name in it, comma, then a question. And it's kind of like that would work, but you've used it too many times now, and it just feels weird. I mean, everyone knows it's not really an email to me. It's not like a personal email. It's from an email list. Um, but yeah, personalization is good, but don't use it too often, I guess. It's quite. I mean, I suppose it's quite useful for transactional emails and stuff like that. But if you're using it on a regular basis, I would just try and like. I mean, nobody thinks it's like a personal email. Just not real. And then segmentation again is a bit of an acquired taste. It's like it can be good to prevent audience fatigue, like from a certain offer, for example. I mean, I've got like with my current clients, we're selling this book, and we want to make sure that people who've already bought the book obviously don't see the continuous emails about the book, and that's fine. But like I've noticed also with my e-commerce store, and there's a totally different context, I guess, because it's like products rather than information. People will quite regularly buy again, even when they've already bought the thing. So it's a bit of a I guess it's a bit of a tricky one. I suppose for products it maybe makes less sense. I don't know. I think it depends on the context. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share a case study or example of an email campaign that delivered unexpected results?
Yes, I can. Yeah. So um, this is it's kind of a fun one because I've actually been shutting down my e-commerce store recently. I sort of I've struggled with it for a while because it's sort of like it's going, but it's not going enough. And I've got all this stock sitting in my mum and dad's basement, and I need to get rid of it. So I sort of just said, I'm going to do a properly like a full scale campaign on this for like 2 weeks or something, like massive urgency because it's like we've only got 2 weeks or whatever, and then massive scarcity because this is like the last time you're going to be able to get these things. Otherwise, I'm just going to throw them away. Like just going into all the detail, and this is a list of about 200 or 300 people or something, which have been many of them have been there for upwards of like 2 or 3 years on this list, so they know sort of how I speak and what I'm about. And a lot of them I've actually chatted with by like back and forth by email as well. And this is like this situation. I suppose it's the scarcity plus the urgency plus knowing exactly what these people are about, are like. Like just had like massive results. I basically got rid of nearly like I'm trying to think how many items I got rid of, like nearly over 1,000 items or something in the space of like 2 weeks, which is like better than almost my entire e-commerce history in the space of 2 weeks. It's just ridiculous for like a 300-person list. Yeah.
So for newcomers in email marketing, what's one piece of advice you would give to help them stand out?
Well, this is a difficult one because um, the sort of I suppose there are the usual advice, which is like get a niche, practice a lot under lower pressure environments, have your understand what you're doing before you actually engage with clients. I know we said earlier that it's not 100% necessary because we're always learning. My first client, my first month was a complete disaster, but like that was more. It was like the writing was fine, but the client management was just like all over the place. Like I was like you're getting emails at the weekend and all this other stuff, and it's just not you got to have boundaries and that kind of thing. I think it will be that client experience which sets you apart from the newbies, like from people on Fiverr or on Upwork or whatever who are just starting out. Like if you can demonstrate that you're really good, like you've got a really good onboarding process, there's nothing to worry about. You can kind of reassure them that you're going to get the results and so on. You can prove that you got the result before. That's probably the thing that would help them stand out. I mean, like I said, I've documented what I did, like to on LinkedIn to get my first client within the first 2 months on timslaunchpad.com. But like, and that's like a free thing if people wanted that. But yeah, I suppose that's those are the main things.
Amazing. So where do you see the future of email marketing?
I think it's just going to get better and better because, as we said before, that sort of massive cloud of social media and other notifications, people will, I think, increasingly try and hide from. But
Mhm.
email will still remain as like the home base. Like as we said, like it's what you use to log into everything else, and people check it more often than anything else. The other thing as well, actually, I was just thinking about. So it used to be all about direct mail, but especially in business to business marketing, direct mail used to work really well. But I think people are being increasingly guarded about that now as well. Like they don't want like people to send them stuff in the post or in the mail. So it's like email then has taken that over as well. It's like becoming the home base for everything, and I think that's going to be the future of email marketing. It's just going to get better and better.
All right. So my final question to you is, what tools or software do you use for email marketing?
A big fan of ConvertKit for my clients, or Kit as we call it now for my clients. It's really, it's got everything in it, like the payment system, the like the automations and all the, like, you can sell products and courses within it and stuff like that. Big fan of that. And for e-commerce, I used to use Klaviyo as well, but apparently Omnisend is quite good, but I've never used it.
Also, like I have heard that active campaign is quite good because actually I have used it, not that extent, but there are so many people who actually complain about active campaign. But right now, active campaign is also very good, and also it comes with this CRM feature, so
Yeah,
it's actually good. And I personally, I have used Big MailerLite and ConvertKit.
yeah, MailerLite, yeah. MailerLite's quite good for, yeah, just kind of starting out, isn't it? Beehive is interesting, isn't it? Because you actually have the opportunity to actually, like, it kind of markets you, and it's, but like, it's almost like that is almost like the newsletter hub, isn't it?
Exactly,
Basically,
Beehive
yeah,
is actually designed by keeping newsletter in mind. That's
yeah.
why.
They are so far, yeah, they've got like a massive audience, so they don't really they don't really understand. So if you're starting out with like a small audience, I basically put, like I said, I've documented what I did as of like a five step process, like for free on my website, timslaunchpad.com, and you can pick that up and see exactly what I did. I'm not the expert. I'm just documenting what I did in the last 3 months for this to happen, and hopefully that would be more useful than like something someone did 5 years ago that got them, got them where they are now, I guess. The point being, someone who's 10 steps ahead of you, you can at least still relate to that. Whereas someone who's like a million steps ahead of you, it's just like they're out of sight. So what's the point? But yeah, so timslaunchpad.com is where I'd advise people to go, and it can, it covers all those things that I was talking about earlier.
Amazing. Thank you, team. We have come to the end, and thanks for coming today, and thanks for educating us. And we have got a lot of lessons, literally. And if we actually apply this all, there is a huge opportunity of making money online with email marketing. And
Hmm.
thank you again for coming today. Thanks for your precious time.
Thank you so much. Thanks for.
Thank you so much.